With a father who negotiated Burma's independence from Britain in 1947, and a mother who was a prominent Burmese politician of the 1960s, democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi's political pedigree is impeccable. The softly spoken, steely-willed crusader was born in Burma in 1945, 2 years before her father was assassinated by paramilitaries acting for one of his rivals. Suu Kyi spent her childhood in Burma before moving to England, earning an undergraduate degree from Oxford and a PhD from the University of London. In 1972, she married Dr. Michael Arris, an English scholar of Bhutanese and Tibetan culture, and the couple had 2 sons. At the same time as Suu Kyi returned to Burma in 1988 to care for her ailing mother, in a win, the general who had ruled the country since seizing power in the 1962 coup stepped down in favor of another military junta. Demonstrations in favor of democracy were brutally suppressed. Suu Kyi joined the National League for Democracy. Her family connections made her a popular figurehead, and the support she generated threatened the regime's leadership, the State Law and Order Restoration Council, or SLORC. When Suu Kyi's mother died in December 1988, her funeral drew a huge crowd and turned into an impromptu protest against military rule. Suu Kyi's popularity and the groundswell of support for the democracy movement led SLORC to detain her under house arrest. She was pressured to leave the country, but refused, going on a hunger strike to protest the treatment of Burmese students taken from her house to an interrogation center. In 2007, Buddhist monks were at the forefront of demonstrations that broke out against the military junta. Actor and singer Jane Birkin is among the prominent people campaigning for Burmese human rights.
We must move now. We haven't got much time. Supposing something happens to Aung San Suu Kyi, supposing something happens, we have it all on our conscience that we haven't done anything. So if the Pope would say something, I'm going to see the Archbishop of Paris on Wednesday, I try to do everything because my conscience is so bad. Because I've met her. I've met Aung San Suu Kyi. She said, please, if I could help the political prisoners, never herself. She never talked about herself.
Mexican actor Gael Garcia Bernal is another who wants to see an end to the violence.
So what is the world doing to stop these abuses? Until recently, not much. There have been 28 consecutive non-binding United Nations resolutions in Burma. Many international envoys have tried to prod the regime toward change. But tragically, the SPDC has rebuffed all efforts at cooperation, and the abuses of civilians, of political prisoners, and of political leaders like the democratically elected Nobel Peace Laureate Aung San Suu Kyi continue.
Suu Kyi was released from house arrest in 1995. But it was made clear that if she left the country, she would be unable to return. In 2000, she was arrested again and remains in home detention to this day. Her husband and sons remained in England, and in 1997, Michael was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The regime refused to allow him to travel to Burma, and he died 2 years later, having only seen Suu Kyi 5 times since she returned to Burma more than 10 years earlier. Suu Kyi is the focus of the Burmese campaign for democracy and has devoted her life to the struggle. In 2003, the US State Department strongly praised her work, saying, even after years of on and off political unrest, harassment and constant surveillance, Aung San Suu Kyi is still wholly committed to bringing democracy and a humane rule of law to the Burmese people. A tremendous strength of character stands boldly in the face of the military regime's disregard for human rights and democracy.
Three, two, one.